Hey, good afternoon. I'm Mark Power. I lead the Western, UK and European team at Immersive Labs. Just an interactive session today, so maybe a few show of hands, but I will ask you at some point to get your mobile phones out. We'll scan the QR code, it'll be on the screen, and we're going to engage in a crisis simulation today. It's not a test, the QR code is safe, so I promise you that QR code is not a CP pass or fail issue. Quick show of hands, who has heard of Immersive Labs before? Great, okay. The video I'm going to kick off with is a rebrand video we launched in January. We are now called Immersive. I dread to think how much we paid an agency to rebrand us and just remove the word labs. But really our business was originally founded just over 8.5 years ago by a gentleman called James Hadley, who is our proud founder and our Chief Innovation Officer today. The business originally started in Bristol, a shipping container with 5 people. Today we're over 350 people globally across APAC, Middle East, headquartered in the UK for Bristol and headquartered in Boston in the US. James's earlier part of his career originally started when he was working in GCHQ and upskilling cyber professionals on the top talent program over a 10-week period. He was asked to train and upskill those individuals. During that time, he found that it was very difficult to measure top talent in terms of perseverance, being able to use problem-solving skills when people are clicking through e-learning programs, which led him to originally create Immersive Labs. I'm just going to quickly play the video. Okay. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes just giving you some context on how we support customers today. I'm going to give you some context for some trends we're seeing in the market at the moment, particularly around human cyber resilience, and then we're going to dive straight into the crisis simulation itself. So to give you a bit of background about the business, we support over 400 of the world's largest organisations in supporting them with their human cyber resilience. We see a real difference between this notion of a few years ago, you're particularly seeing threat prevention, this idea that an attack could happen, and as most of you will know in this room, unfortunately, an attack is almost inevitable today. When I was kindly invited here to present today, and thank you to the ITEC team, I was building some slides initially thinking, do I talk about some of the UK retail scenarios? And I was aware of the audience that I'm presenting to today. There isn't a need, we're all really aware and apparent of the attacks that are consistently ongoing, whether they're from known threat actors, whether they're from smaller ransomware groups, or if they're potentially from nation-state threat actors. What we do as an organisation is we take, from an individual through to an executive board team, different scenarios and crisis simulations, but more, also importantly, technical scenarios, and coin those in terms of a cyber drill. So we're able to create different injects and different scenarios based on where you are globally, role and responsibility you have, and the answer you give could depend on the outcome and the next set of answers and questions that a different team in a different part of the organisation may have to answer. So your supply chain risk, it might be a scenario you look at. The operations team and the logistics team have to make a particular set of decisions. That then goes across to a PR professional who has to create a statement for customers and to the public, and so on and so forth. What we're consistently seeing as a trend is where we've been really strong in the past is predominantly with SOC teams, so deep cyber professionals creating really intense and challenging labs for them to be able to work their way through to create muscle memory. Where we've been particularly pertinent in that area, we now see a common trend where leaders of security operations teams are coming to us saying, I need to bring my GRC colleagues along for the ride. Whether that's DORA in financial services, if the business is moving towards ISO or going through that process. You saw a quick clip on the screen earlier for the video of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So we map all of our content to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So we've helped organisations like HSBC go from under 60% of coverage on MITRE ATT&CK all the way through to 98% coverage on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. It just allows you to be able to start to understand where are the strengths in my team, how do I want to build those strengths, and where are we particularly weak at the moment. We'll be able to give those particular individuals certain labs to help upskill in that environment. So it's really against a sense of how do you know? How do you know you're secure? How do you know you're ready? If you're under attack today, tomorrow, touch wood you aren't. But if you were, who can you rely on in your organisation from a human perspective to be able to support and help remediate the attacks themselves? So our approach is really to look at an organisation, run an exercise, whether that's with a particular team, a set of individuals, or an entire organisation, be able to take that and benchmark them, not just against their existing teams, but we'll anonymise our data and give them the benchmark against a particular industry, a sector, and they'll be able to get a sense check for where they are roughly in comparison to their peer group. Then we support in terms of building specific career paths and plans to be able to upskill those teams and individuals. Importantly, where we see ourselves as different is the ability to be able to improve. So I wouldn't say training is dead, but I think e-learning plays an important role, especially in micro-learning for organisations. We're finding micro-simulations and live fire attacks is where our customers are really asking us to support them. So trying to create as realistic scenarios as possible and as customised and as detailed to their organisation in particular. So they don't find themselves in a training environment, they find themselves logging into something which looks almost identical to their day-to-day work. So I've mentioned the program of cyber drills. What we're going to go through today, you can see underneath exercises, they're for executive boards and crisis experts. So we're going to run a crisis simulation. Okay, I'm going to switch back over. Demos, we'll see how we do. Here we go. So if you were to log into our platform, this is the first page you can see as a leader in the business. You'll be able to see a cyber resilience score. That score is much like a credit score that people receive depending on the completion of labs, MITRE ATT&CK coverage, and a number of other factors. It will give them a view as to where they sit. So for the purposes of today, we're going to go and run an exercise. So I'm going to go into the crisis simulations. Today we have over 86 simulations already in the platform. You can create your own scenarios. We create scenarios for our clients too. But these scenarios will range anything from OT and oil and gas. Today we're going to run a retail example, and you're all going to play the role of a chief operating officer for a large retailer. So that's the scenario. So you head to that space in just a second. We're going to be going through that. So we're going to focus on this one now. So when we use the crisis management platform, we can use it in two different ways. We can either run it in presenter mode, which I'm going to do this afternoon, or we can run it as single player. We find that a number of our clients, global organisations, will use single player mode also in third-party risk assessments. So if you're able to create a scenario and you want to then send that out to your supply chain, one of the things you're able to do is get the report back to see what was the response of those particular individuals or suppliers and help ascertain your risk in your business. So we'll quickly set this for today. So until tomorrow. We publish the scenario. We are ready to go. I'll use this one. He says. Okay. If you would kindly indulge me and take your mobile phones out, I promise it's safe. Scan the QR code. The role that you're playing today is the role of a chief operating officer for a retailer. It's a single view mode, so you are responding as that individual. But please know thy neighbour. We'll have discussions around answers, why you chose a certain answer, and come back to the audience. And as I was referencing earlier, we do these in many different roles. You might have multiple roles, multiple teams creating against different scenarios as you go through. I'll just give you a couple of seconds. Okay, let's get going. So, welcome to Unpacked. You are the Chief Operating Officer of a large retailer. In this exercise, you're going to step into the shoes of the Chief Operating Officer. As I mentioned, this is a point of view exercise. So, get ready to think on your feet, make tough choices, and with limited information. So, the injects that you'll be given, I appreciate there's a lot of cyber and IT professionals here, so you may lean towards IT answers. But we'll run these across operations teams, engineering teams, as I say. So it'll be really interesting to see the discussion in the room as well. So without further ado. Okay, the coffee run. So the aroma of freshly brewed coffee fills the air as you enter the bustling coffee shop on your way to the office. You're about to pay when you notice a Valentine's Day promotion displayed prominently near the register. This is one of your stores. It's your company's latest campaign. The QR code is there featuring the Valentine's Day discount. You're intrigued to see how it looks, and as you scan the QR code, the message appears, 404 page not found. You try again, but the same error appears. Something doesn't seem right, and the barista says to you, a few people have had the same issues with that code this morning. The link's broken or something. Sense of unease comes across you. What do you do? So your options. Do you report to IT? Do you alert marketing? Do you check online? Or do you dismiss and continue? So for the purposes of also giving a demo here, you can add a timer if I wish to create some suspense, but I think we're okay for this first inject. And as I go vote now, you should see your mobile phones change and give you the option to submit a vote.
So just, can you, what's the code for it again? Sorry, just the connection isn't great in here.
QR code. I will struggle to get the QR code back up here for us.
Or is there a text code that you put in?
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I know we had around 26 participants, so whenever we run these as an exercise, we try to hold off as long as possible to get as many responses as possible, because as you're going to be seeing now on your mobile phones, you select your answer, but then you're also able to give your sentiment, your confidence score. The report that we provide afterwards against that proof point is really interesting for organisations, because we say there's no right or wrong answer here. There are stronger answers and weaker answers, and probably the worst possible outcome is a weak answer that very confidently delivered. So as you start to see that then heat mapped across an organisation, if you're looking at financial services, you may find that the trading floor were particularly confident in their answer and might not got the response you were looking for, and the soccer team were less confident, but they were very accurate in what they were depicting and giving their scores back. So it's always interesting to see that part of the culture come through an organisation. Okay, so 30 responses, and I will reveal the response. So we've said we are going to report to IT. So contact the IT help desk and report the QR code issue, provide the location and display the exact error message that you've received. Unsurprising as a response for the room based on where we are today and what sits there. We do find if we run these particularly with marketing teams or with go-to-market teams in this particular scenario, alert marketing is the more prominent answer, because they wouldn't necessarily think about IT in that first instance. And we've at the scene of crisis management, and naturally we know potentially where we're leading to here, so we've got to report IT. Just to keep the room engaged as possible, as much as possible, anybody willing to pop their hand up and say why they chose alert marketing? Thank you, Mike.
I work in marketing, so I'm in charge of. I've never asked anyone ever in IT to create a QR code with me.
Thank you very much. That wasn't a plan either, by the way. So we reported to IT in this instance, but as I said, you're going to find lots of different responses across the teams. As you potentially create these yourselves, you want to try to see where, as you create the triage of questions, you're going to want to try and shape it to get the results and the outcomes that you're looking for from the crisis. You want to be able to stimulate a different conversation in the room. You might want to be leading towards a particular piece of legislation, governance, and to see how people respond in that specific scenario. So let's keep going. So now here what we do is we show the impact. So reputation and financial impact is two measurements that we're looking at in this particular crisis. As we've just been on the coffee run, we've seen the QR code. The reputation of our company is still very much the same. Nothing's changed there. That might change as we go through this particular scenario. And the financial impact has had no financial impact here in particular as we go today. So you quickly email the IT help desk, you've reported the issue and requested an update. Slight sense of relief. Busy day ahead, it is Valentine's Day, so you decide to keep an eye on the situation. Okay, you're walking to the office, you're trying to shake off the lingering unease from the coffee shop incident this morning, as you felt something wasn't quite right, and your favourite podcast when you receive a text from the head of operations, retail operations. I'm going to play the video as the text messages come through. I'll pause and slow down so you can get a chance to actually read what's on the screen.
Scan the QR code on our Valentine's Day displays in-store or online and unlock exclusive offers and romantic surprises. Orchid Retail, where love blooms.
Okay, so the last text message caused you to hesitate, suspending the promotions. That was the head of retail operations. Whilst you're deciding, the phone rings, which was the phone call just there at the end. It's the head of marketing and the voice laced with panic. This is a disaster. Our Valentine's Day promotion is falling apart. We need to keep those sales going. Can't we just override the system and let those purchases go through? We can sort the pain issues out later. They're focused on sales targets, but you're worried about the legal and financial implications of allowing unverified transactions. You need to find a solution. What do you choose? So, you should now see those options again on your mobile phones. Authorize and override, halt the QR code payments, investigate and communicate, or assemble the crisis management team. Some quick responses. The last page was a rich inject media, so we can create different types of rich media that we want to put in there, change the company logos, use AI to create videos. We'll see as we go through different types of rich media in there as well. So obviously I can't see these responses just yet, but some of the things that we naturally see is people potentially go straight to assemble the crisis management team. So you just look back and think, at what stage would we engage? Who sits on our crisis management team? what information would we be providing them if we were to decide to engage that crisis management team today, and then at what point would we trigger if we decided to hold for now. Okay, let's reveal. Okay, so good split across the room. So nobody went for authorise and override, which is probably the weaker answer in there, which you can see. Whole QR code payments has been the most popular here, but a fair split then between investigate and communicate, and assemble the crisis management team. Would anybody volunteer to give some commentary around investigate and communicate? It's quite a quiet room, so I think you can put your hand up and just offer an opinion if you wish. Yeah.
It would take too long.
Yep. Okay. And then, with regards to assemble the crisis management team, any volunteers? I know I did just mention as well, it could not be the time, but it also could depend on your business. Yes, sir.
Well, they'd be the experts in this area, so I want to get them together as soon as possible.
And what type of information would you be providing them?
Everything I know, plus I'd bring up the head of IT and get them on the phone straight away. So.
Yeah. So you'd be referencing that you already raised and flagged potentially to IT as well this morning, that the faulty QR codes, you're trusting your experience and your gut feel that something's not right. Great, thank you. All right. Okay. So we will select whole QR code payments. So naturally that's had an effect on our reputation, because we've changed our promotion for the day, we've halted that. And it's also going to have a financial impact because we've made a decision to stop taking those payments. So you issue the order knowing it will cause frustration and delays. You also contact the head of communications to prepare a public statement explaining the situation and apologising for the inconvenience. You hope this decisive action will reassure customers and prevent further damage. Okay. So a few different rich media injects here, but the phones are ringing incessantly. Your inbox is overflowing. Constant ping of social media notifications is driving you to the brink. The crisis is now full swing. A news alert flashes across your screen. You click the link and your stomach churns. So I won't read all of that word for word, but you get a feel now that we're now in the public eye. The media have picked up on the challenges that we're facing, and it's starting to be talked about. Your competitors are also picking up on this news as well. So Retail Therapy are a competitor. They're referencing that they've seen our difficulties today, but they're reassuring their customers that they are very reliable and they don't have any particular challenges over there. Other people also referencing that they've had challenges with the QR code. We can see here as well that a social media influencer has released a statement.
Hey everyone, I need to address a serious situation. I recently partnered with Orchid Retail to promote their Valentine's Day campaign, and I encouraged you all to use their QR codes for exclusive discounts and offers. Unfortunately, it seems those QR codes were compromised. Many of you have reported issues with payments, missing loyalty points, and even unauthorized access to your accounts. I've also been personally affected, and I'm deeply concerned about the potential impact this could have on all of you. I'm disappointed and angry that this has happened, but I'm committed to helping resolve this situation and protect my followers. I'll keep you updated as I learn more. In the meantime, I urge you to be cautious about scanning any QR codes, especially those from Orchid Retail.
Thanks, Mia. Not helpful. So the news alert has flashed across our screens. We've seen that process. And Love Hacked is now trending on X. So what do we do next? We know the crisis we're in. Do we reach out to the influencer directly, contact her directly and offer support and assistance, publicly acknowledge the experience and express our empathy for the situation, acknowledge the company's responsibility for compromised promotion and apologise publicly, so we issue the public apology, focus on security measures, so double down. Public statement is still being issued if we decide to do that. Or do we launch and combat the social media offensive campaign? So our competitors are on us. Do we double down our efforts there and launch our own counter-offensive? I'll give a few extra minutes for this one. Okay, another 10 seconds, I think, and then we'll click through. We are in crisis, of course, so we won't take too long. Interesting. Okay. So, issue of public apology has been chosen by a few of you. So, potentially going down that path. Launch a social media offensive campaign is in there as well. I wonder if our marketing friend just don't know. Okay, interesting. And focus on security measures as being the most popular answer that's there in particular. Any volunteers for issue a public apology? Don't be shy. Too early for a public apology.
You don't know what costs, don't know.
Okay. And concerned about you're already trending online, your statement could be taken in a number of different ways. Launch a social media counter-offensive. Okay. Surprising, in a crisis, people make different decisions and decide where they're at. It's not a wrong answer, depending on the company's culture, depending on the infancy of the company. If it's a large global retail organisation, they might think very differently to how an SMB or a smaller organisation might decide to focus here. As I said, we are a room predominantly full of cyber professionals and IT enthusiasts, so we're focusing on security measures here. So we've issued our statement highlighting the company's security protocols and commitment to protecting customer data. So that is also an element about public statement there as well, outside of the public apology solely. Steps are being taken with the QR code itself and the tampering. We've highlighted the recent security investments and certifications to reassure our customers. Okay, so now we're seeing this as a continued financial impact for the organisation. Reputation's taking a bit of a hit here because we're acknowledging the challenge that we're having. Okay, so the weight of the crisis is bearing down on you. You're juggling calls, emails, and social media updates. Each a fresh reminder of the chaos engulfing your company. Your phone buzzes, and it's the head of customer success. It's worse than we thought. The loyalty program has been completely compromised. Customer points are being drained from accounts and being taken over. Fraudulent redemptions, fraudulent redemptions are happening left, right, and centre. The loyalty program is the cornerstone of your customer engagement strategy, and it's a smouldering ruin. This could be the final nail in the coffin for your company's reputation, but before you can process this news, another message comes in, and it's from the IT security manager. We've detected another breach. This time, it's internal. Someone's been spreading malware through the company's network. It looks like they used a phishing email disguised as a staff benefits offer with a QR code. Several employees have clicked on it, and now devices are all infected over the company. Close your eyes and take a deep breath, an internal breach on top of everything else. This is a nightmare. It's going to risk speech damage. So, what do we do next? We try to contain the loyalty program breach. Do we address the internal breach? Do we communicate with employees? Or do we update the board? As you're thinking, some of the scenarios we have the pleasure of running with our customers, and our partners also run those scenarios with customers, and customers do this themselves in-house. Some of the dynamics of the room to see a SOC team responding to a technical outcome and having a leadership table make a decision. You'd often think that the power sits at the leadership table, but in a tradition of tabletop exercises, in particular PowerPoint exercises, it's always been seen as an IT decision, and it's an IT thing to run a crisis management scenario. And when we run it cross-organizational, what we're finding is having a timer and having specific asks of certain tables and teams. SOC team shouting across to the leadership table, I have 15 minutes to complete my actions and give an update. And it's 8 minutes in and you still haven't made a decision as to what I'm supposed to be doing next. So you can create that type of chaos in a room still. A couple more seconds. Great. first time we've had different answers right across the board here. So contain the loyalty program breach has been fairly popular. Address the internal breach has been the main answer of the group. And we can see communicate with employees and update the board. Again, when we run this particular scenario with other customers, depending on the culture of the organisation, updating the board at this stage could potentially be very important. If you're trending online, a board member might find out firsthand about the crisis via their own X account or Instagram account. That's probably not the way you want your board member to find out that there's a crisis internally in the organisation. So actually deciding to update the board at this stage could be a really relevant answer for somebody to give. Communicate with employees is particularly urgent. You know there's an internal challenge, you want to try and remediate that as best as possible. I'd love just for somebody, if they're willing to contain the loyalty program breach as a main focus, I'd love to see where that response came from, for some context.
Well, we've selected 2 by accident, but I would have gone with option 1 because customer data is involved.
Yeah.
And that can create further liabilities for the business.
Perfect. And so, I won't name the organisation, but a retailer this week discussed the breach that they had, and that the severity of the breach didn't contain financial information of their customers, but it was customer data. So they almost tried to play it down on the basis that it wasn't financial credit card information, so don't worry too much. But that type of information, customer data, as we know, can be used in phishing attacks, and it can be used against people in other ways. So completely understand the need to want to focus there. So we're going to go with addressing the internal breach. I'm naturally speaking here on behalf of the group, so I'm choosing these as we go through. But if you're in a different type of environment, you might find that the most popular answer, once discussed across the room, becomes less popular and you decide on a different outcome. Okay, so addressing the internal breach helps as an element on reputation. We're still seeing the same trend on financial damage. But a good answer. So you direct the IT team to focus on containing the internal breach and preventing further damage. You authorise them to take any necessary steps, even if it means temporary disrupting some services. You also issue a company-wide communication to employees, informing them of the situation and providing instructions on how to protect their devices. That answer does kind of encompass some of the other 2 as well, that we just saw in the last section. So, your head feels like it's about to explode. Conference room is a whirlwind of activity, and the phone rings, laptops clattering, and people rushing in and out with urgent updates. You're trying to maintain calm, but the pressure is relentless. Suddenly, a message appears on your phone. Roses are red, violets are blue. We've seen your photos, now pay, watched you. Your files are locked, your secrets exposed. $100, or you will be disclosed. You can see just down here as well, your photos are locked. This is now a personal ransomware attack. You stare at the screen, blood turning to ice, ransomware on your personal phone. This is a new low. So as you're trying to open up the photo app, you see that it's locked. You now need to make a decision. This is personally affecting you as well as the rest of the crisis that's ongoing. What do you do? Do you pay the ransom? Do you ignore the threat? Do you report to IT security? Or do you contact law enforcement? Decision time. As I'm sure many of you know, when we see these scenarios, we go through ransomware, often it's focused on the ransomware of the organisation. They remain nameless for obvious reasons, but we went through a simulated ransomware attack for a large global client very recently. And as we went around the room, the start of the day, so it's a 3-hour cyber drill. The start of the day, the question is a global leadership offsite. The questions are very much directed at all of the IT professionals in the room. What is 0 day? I've seen the Netflix documentary. Is it real? Does that affect us at all? And as the afternoon went on, the decisions were becoming more and more business critical and less IT focused. So then we were going to the chief legal officer of a particular table or chief HR officer. Do we send people home? And what happens next? And a really interesting comment from the CISO at the time was referencing the whole pay or not to pay. And with the nature of this particular customer and their business, the outcome of deciding not to pay, the ramifications in terms of the time to remediate. It was very impactful, but it could also risk loss of life on the scenario we created. And the CISO said, it's not a case of pay or not pay, we're now deciding what law we're going to break. So this is no longer a CISO immediate challenge. This is where we'd engage a third-party legal firm, or we'd look at which we have our retainer, or we would go to our legal counsel here to seek advice, because we either have to pay ransomware to get ourselves back up online, or we go down the other path and we run a very different risk, but a very critical risk. Okay, so we do have someone's pet there. Yeah, 30 people, so one person at least has said they would pay the ransom, so they must have some important photos on there. I won't ask you to do that, so you keep your hands up. We ignore the threat, we continue, most likely we're going to focus on the company-wide crisis. You can live without your phone for a period of time. We report to IT, security, we inform them where we're at, or we contact law enforcement. What do we think some of the potential negative implications are of contacting law enforcement? Anybody want to offer up a thought or view?
Media.
Yep, it can be picked up by media. We're then alerting other people to the crisis that we're under. It can be even more publicly damaging based on where we're at. And for the sake of a £100 payment that we're being ransomware for, do we really need to engage law enforcement at that time? Is it an internal issue? So we're going to focus on report to IT security here. Just a couple more injects left in our crisis, you'll be glad to know. So you contact the head of IT security, feeling a mix of embarrassment and urgency. They take the news seriously and promise to investigate, but you can sense their disapproval. You worry about the impact this might have on your credibility, but you also know that you need their expertise to contain this damage. However, you're concerned that involving the IT team could delay the response to the larger crisis. Okay, now at the stage of the boardroom, so you take a deep breath, you try to ignore the tremor in your hands, it's showtime. You've just joined the emergency board call, and the faces are staring back at you, and a mixture of frustration and thinly veiled panic. The chairman says, all right, we've heard your update, and frankly, we're not impressed. The situation is spiraling out of control, and our reputation is taking a major hit. We need to take decisive action, and we need to take it now. So tell us, what is your single most critical recommendation to get us out of this mess and restore confidence in our company? What do you recommend? Do we go for an entire system shutdown? Or do we look at operational continuity and we offer compensation? So we're recommending compensation to the people affected by the crisis. Vote now. Some of the crisis we were talking about a minute ago with regards to ransomware, it's almost cliche to say ransomware is no longer somebody sat in their parents' bedroom on a laptop seeing if they can hack into an environment. These are large-scale organisations and threat actors. They're a business. And something that I think is becoming more and more aware in the public eye is the threat actors themselves are looking for the fastest way, almost as a route to market. They look for the easiest vulnerability in an organisation. And they also try to represent themselves in terms of, if you know who the threat actor is, often they're trying to build their own brand. So if you paid the ransomware attack, how long did it take for you to get the decryption key from that threat actor and get yourselves back up and running? So the likelihood is that if you did decide to pay, not that we would recommend, but if you did decide to pay and you're back up and running in half an hour, if you're a large oil and gas organisation, you shut off pipelines, and that costs you hundreds of millions in terms of revenue, damage, reputation, but it was potentially $100,000 worth of Bitcoin and ransomware. Is that a decision the business would take to pay and get back up and running in 15 minutes versus going through an entire crisis? So I think it's a very different challenge, ransomware today, than it was a few years ago. Okay. Oh, interesting. So we've gone 68% of the room say system shutdown, and 32% of the room are saying that we would look at compensation. I would love somebody to bat for their own corner here on either side. I'd love just to hear a little bit of discussion around these two, because it's quite a decisive answer from one side to the other. Can we start with Anybody recommending that they would put their hand up here for the compensation angle? I have an immersive umbrella in my bag. I'm prepared for a crisis. I've come to Ireland nearly in the summer and I've packed umbrellas, so I'll offer some umbrella swag for anybody willing to put their hand up here. Yes?
I think the problem with continuity is you don't know how much worse it's going to get. And if you shut the systems down, it's contained, you can start doing backups, you can start getting stuff back online, but continuing on is likely only going to make the situation worse.
Thank you. Absolutely agree. And I think if you were in that position, you were sat in front of the board and you referenced that compensation is a position you're going to take, the immediate question you're likely to receive back is how much and to what scale. And based on individual users of a customer being affected, or individual customers, excuse me, that potentially it's the entire customer base that's been affected in this scenario, so it could be huge in terms of financial ramifications. Okay, so we've gone for system shutdown. A bold move, but as we know, there's organisations today affected in a similar manner which have had to make really difficult decisions in this way. So your recommendation is to immediately shut down all affected systems, including the website, mobile app, payment portals, and the loyalty program. It's going to disrupt operations in the short term. It's the only way to guarantee the safety of our customers and prevent further damage. We can then focus on the investigation, remediation, recovery plan. The board members nod slowly, acknowledging the drastic nature of this recommendation, but also recognising the benefits of a complete shutdown. They press you for details on the operational impact and the financial losses and the communication strategy for customers and employees. Okay. No need to scan that QR code. That will take you back to the video that we were on a few moments ago. This particular QR code, if you were wanting to scan that, that will allow you to be able to receive a different demo from us, further follow up with anybody in my team. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your engagement. I hope you enjoyed it.